Good morning, everyone. Really happy to have you here. This is our military veteran faith-based summit and launch of the Connected Faith Network, a very exciting day. My name is Thomas Winkel, and I'm the director of the Arizona Coalition for Military Families, and happy to have you here. So please note that you are muted, but not silenced. And please utilize the chat box as you're already starting to do throughout the presentation with questions and all sorts of things that come to mind for you, notes of interest and whatnot. And as I'm seeing at least a couple of you do already, please introduce yourself. Let us know your name, your organization, and your military connection, or where in the state you might happen to be. We're interested in all of those things. And it doesn't hurt to throw in a branch if you're in there. And for those really shy Marines that are really kind of pensive and don't tend to just say that they're Marines, which is pretty much most of us, feel free to share that as well. That's okay. And what I'll say is that we could fill an entire hour with all of our speakers' accomplishments. I'm not going to do that. Instead, bios are available in the other part of the conference center here. And if you just kind of click around, you'll find it. I believe it's in there. Maybe we can include that in the chat. Thanks, Dee. And I think for our purposes today, what I'll do is I'll just kind of give a blanket statement. I want to say that everyone who is speaking today, they are subject matter experts, both professionally and personally. So let's march on with our day. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to invite retired Lieutenant Colonel Kathy Gallowitz to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. It's great to have you with us. I'm so glad you decided to move from Ohio to Arizona. All right. Next, we are honored today to have our invocation done by Arizona National Guard Senior Army Chaplain Chris Melvin and Roland Maldonado, former tribal chairperson for the Kaibab Band of Paiute Indians. He is also a United States Marine. Chris?
Well, welcome everyone. I'd like to offer a prayer. Can I invite you to pray with me? Lord of all, God of our universe, Lord of our days, we come before you while we are digitally distributed around the state, maybe even around the nation. You are divinely present everywhere. And so, Lord, I pray that you would gather our hearts here in one place at one time to work through and think through some of the things that impact warriors who defend our nation, this nation that's been a gift from you. Pray and ask your blessing on conference speakers, breakout sessions, participants, all of us, Lord, that are gathered here to bless others. May we receive a blessing today. We love you. We ask your blessing on this time and each one gathered. And Lord, I ask this in the name of our Creator, our Redeemer, and our Sustainer. Amen.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate that. All right. Chairman Maldonado?
Yep.
All right, you're on, sir.
Oh, grandfather, we thank you for this day of life that you have given to us. We ask that you watch over us and take care of us and give each one of us health and mental stability as needed, grandfather. We ask that you help us to come up with good ideas and good thoughts, that we might be able to work these things in a good way with a good heart to help those that are in need. We thank you again for this day of life and for all that you have put us in the middle of this creation that you have given to us, Grandfather. We thank you for that also. We ask that you help those that are helping others to maintain their own stability, to take care of themselves as well as take care of other people, that they do not become overcome and overburdened with those things that are being carried, Grandfather. We ask that, again, that you help us to be able to come up with solutions to situations and circumstance, Grandfather. And again, to do these things in a good way with a good heart. We are thankful for all these things and give you all the praise, Grandfather. Oh, all my relations.
Roland, Semper Fi, brother. Thank you for that. And unfortunately, Rabbi Koppel was not able to attend today's summit, but she graciously provided her thoughts. Rabbi Koppel, for those of you who have never had the pleasure of meeting her, was one of the first women rabbis in the country and the very first female rabbi to serve in the entire U.S. military. That's a tremendous blessing of living in a democracy where we enjoy the free exercise of religion, a unique experience in Jewish history. We do not take this for granted. The well-being of our government is a priority concern. We pray for our military service members and are especially grateful for the support of their loving families. Faith and family are two vital elements to enable them to serve us and our country. We read in the book of Psalms, God will give us strength to the people. God will bless us with peace, Psalms 29:11. We pray for peace while understanding that it must be built on a foundation of strength. That strength comes from a strong military, a military whose strength is built on the foundation of family and community. Thank you, Rabbi Koppel. And thank you, Chris and Roland, for your prayers. I hope they will guide our hearts today. I literally just got off a call before coming on here with Massachusetts. Prior to that, I was with 7 other states that are around the country participating in a VA SAMHSA, Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration, Governor's Policy Academy. And the one thing that intrigues them the most in Arizona is our great ability, and it is well known, to collaborate in our efforts to support service members, veterans, and their families. This morning, we have a special message from Governor Ducey. Many of you know that he is a man of faith. So let's take a listen to see what his message to us is to us today.
Hello, this is Governor Ducey. I'm excited to join you this morning as we launch Be Connected's Faith Network. Faith plays a significant role in the lives of many Arizonans, including me and my family. It gives us strength and purpose. It adds meaning to our lives. I'm grateful to all of our faith partners for being here today to support this new partnership. A statewide, faith-based avenue to support Arizona service members, veterans, and their families is an important part of the ecosystem of support that we're building across our state. These brave women and men strengthen the faith community, and in turn, our faith network provides a sense of community in times of need. Here at the Governor's Office, we're going to continue to support in any way we can. The Governor's Office of Youth, Faith, and Family and the Arizona Department of Veteran Services have both been instrumental in making this vision a reality. I'm grateful we can offer support for this highly successful program. I also want to acknowledge the incredible work the Arizona Coalition for Military Families is doing to build these important partnerships. The Coalition and their work on Be Connected has been recognized nationally because of the exemplary outcomes they've accomplished. Arizona continues to be a national model for supporting the brave women and men who have sacrificed so much through their service to our state and nation. I encourage you to join this new network so we can keep working together to ensure that Arizona's brave active duty Guard, Reserve, veterans, and their families know that they have an entire faith network behind them. Thank you all for being here today. Your attendance demonstrates that the health of our families, our communities, and our military heroes is made stronger through collaboration. Thank you, and God bless.
I love the governor's statement that I want to ensure that Arizona's service members, veterans, and their families know that they have an entire faith network behind them. That is spot on. We really appreciate that comment and that video. And to further support this effort, Governor Ducey also provided us with a proclamation, which I shall read henceforth. Hear ye, hear ye. Okay, I won't read it all out like that. Let's see here. Let me pull this up. Okay. Whereas Arizona is home to over 500,000 service members, veterans, and families, as well as their spouses, children, significant others, and family members, totaling nearly 20% of Arizona's population. And whereas Arizona's Be Connected program is nationally recognized as a best and promising practice for upstream prevention with a robust ecosystem that supports all service members, veterans, and their families, family members, helpers, organizations, and communities statewide. And whereas Arizona's faith-based community network can play a key role in the reduction of deaths by suicide by increasing a sense of belonging and reducing a sense of burdensomeness. And whereas Arizona's faith community will in turn benefit from the increased involvement of these highly valued members of their communities, and with support and partnership of organizations such as United States Department of Veterans Affairs, Francisca Renewal Center, Arizona Trauma Informed Faith Community, Military Missions Network, Crew Military Ministries, and Be Connected partner organizations across the state. And whereas Arizona should be encouraged to engage and promote opportunities for service members, veterans, and their families who have given so much while serving our state and nation. Now, therefore, I, Douglas A. Ducey, Governor of the state of Arizona, do hereby proclaim June 9th, 2021 as Be Connected Faith Network Day. So, pretty cool, right? So happy Be Connected Faith Network Day, everybody. That's kind of a neat thing. And I just want to give a special thanks to the Governor's Office of Youth, Faith, and Family, and the great folks there that helped us with the efforts to get that video and proclamation. And would anyone like to meet their director? So real briefly here, Maria Christina Fuentes was appointed as director of the Governor's Office of Youth, Faith, and Family by Governor Doug Ducey in 2017. Previous to this, Ms. Fuentes previous to this appointment, she served 6 years in the administration of George W. Bush in the U.S. Department of Labor, U.S. Department of Justice, and in the White House Office of Faith-Based and Community Initiatives, working to help states across the country develop and establish their own faith-based initiatives. So we're really fortunate in this state that she's here. Look, I'll tell you that, my experience with Maria over these years, she has a real heart for veterans and their families, and she demonstrates that compassion through her solid support and encouragement of efforts like this. So we're very fortunate in this state. Maria, all yours.
Thank you, Thomas. And good morning, everyone. It's such a pleasure to join you today as we kick off the Be Connected Faith-Based Network. I want to especially thank Director Thomas Winkel and the Arizona Coalition for Military Families for their incredible efforts to help serve and support Arizona's military families. I also want to extend my gratitude to Director Wanda Wright and her entire team at the Arizona Department of Veterans Services for their critically important work that they do. The partnership with these two groups has just continued to grow and flourish, and I couldn't be happier to be a part of it. We all know this past year has presented so many challenges for everyone across Arizona, and so I'm incredibly proud for the ongoing efforts statewide to keep identifying best practices and to meet the needs of Arizona service members, veterans, and their families. We are committed to supporting those who have supported us on the front lines and their families, because we know families are also a huge part of making sure that we are safe and that our military is strong. We are very grateful for their service and sacrifice, and recognize the importance of connecting these brave men and women and their loved ones who have served need. So over the past decade, the Governor's Office of Youth, Faith, and Family has been a very proud partner and supporter of building the support for military members, veterans, and their families across the state. And through our partnership with the Arizona Department of Veterans Services and the Arizona Coalition for Military Families, we're seeing tremendous outcomes from this incredible nationally recognized program we call Be Connected. So today I am very thrilled to join these partners in launching the Be Connected Faith Initiative. At GOYFF, we know how instrumental our faith partners and leaders are in supporting and serving our communities. I'm incredibly grateful for their work, their partnership, and their support, and especially over the past year, which presented so many new challenges for all of us. Arizona's communities of faith are uniquely positioned to provide the support, the healing, and the resources for our military members and their families. Faith networks have proven time and time again that they work together towards a common goal, and we see tremendous outcomes. Especially during the pandemic, our faith communities were invaluable partners in raising awareness about critical health issues, safety information, making sure that people were getting tested and vaccinated, and making sure that that information was getting to the right place and informing us of the necessary resources in the communities. And so no matter what issue, our faith leaders, our congregations, faith partners are always there to provide invaluable resources and support. So this Be Connected Faith Network is an incredible opportunity to build on the success that we see from our faith leaders and to build on the success that we see from the Be Connected program. So I'm very thankful for everyone who's here, for your continued commitment to help better the lives of others. And I encourage all of our faith leaders, all of our faith partners to engage in this incredible initiative. And we at the Governor's Office stand ready to help support you and Be Connected and Arizona military families in this effort in any way that we can, because we're stronger together, and our faith networks are a critical component of the support that we need to provide. So together we can make a difference, a better difference, stronger difference to everyone who has served for us and their families. And so thank you for being here, and I can't wait to see what a tremendous faith network we're able to build.
Thank you, Maria. I really appreciate that. And it's been such a consistent process over time building this. It's really taken quite a while. And what was exciting to watch is, as I went, oh, I got to talk to Maria. And then you were just like, bing, bang, boom. So I just appreciate, your ongoing counsel and support. And I'm looking forward to what we can accomplish together. It's pretty cool.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks. All right. So here's the deal. You guys just wanted to write a few times over the course of time. But here's the deal. Each state has a director or a secretary of veteran services who heads up a variety of veteran efforts for their governor. Of the 50 or so state directors across America, we are very fortunate, hands down, to have the best one. That's just a fact. That's like in the Library of Congress. It's sealed, signed, delivered, done. And it's not just because of the traditional tasks that she has done with the office in improving procedures and the number of folks being able to receive benefits and the percentage of successful applicants and all of that important stuff. It's also because she's really literally at the forefront of ensuring that veterans, and I'm talking about forefront of all the other state directors, of ensuring that veterans in Arizona are the highest priority. So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce the pointy tip of the spear. Wanda?
You are too kind, Thomas. Thank you so much for that. Thomas and I were sort of talking about how do we incorporate faith-based communities? A few years ago, being a state director, there is sort of a line of separation, but I still believed at the time that it was really important to work on this. And so having Director Fuentes as also part of our partnership, she helped to fill that gap for us. I am particularly interested in those faith-based communities that support demographics that don't necessarily subscribe to their services and benefits. And what I mean by that is our tribal nation veterans, our African-American veterans, our women veterans, and our LGBTQ veterans. We want to make sure that they understand what they deserve based on their service. And so one of my challenges today, as we go through this process is to, speak with you and talk with you about how do we do that? How do we outreach to those veterans who don't necessarily understand what is out there for them? Be Connected is a holistic approach for resources, and not everybody really understands it's out there for them. So these are the things that I think are really important for our discussion today. Faith-based, they reach a lot of people, and I know they reach a lot of veterans who may not know about what we have to offer. So I appreciate us meeting today. I think we're gonna have some really great ideas and best practices. And my hope is that we can use those for part of ADVS's goal to outreach to more veterans in the coming year. So thank you so much, Thomas, for the minute to speak.
Always, Wanda. Thank you so much. And I love the points in there. So I'm going to be, I made a few notes and we'll discuss those a little bit later, but that's great. All right. So, I'm bantering around with Chris Olsen from the VA's Veteran Experience Office. He is a longtime colleague and fellow traveler on ensuring that veterans have access to all the best care, right? And he asked me if I'm connected to these next two gentlemen. And the next thing I know, they both graciously accepted an invitation to speak. So I'd like to introduce both Chaplain Conrad Washington and Chaplain Matt Cassidy. Each of them helps lead programs for the VA that I suspect most are unaware of, but that really we could all benefit from. So I'm going to have us start with Director Washington, but please note he is also a fellow Marine, which puts us at 3 for the day, which is 2 more than the recommended daily allowance. So just be aware of that. Director Washington.
Right. Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate it. So let me clarify one thing to be fair. I'm not a chaplain. I'm a licensed minister, so a little different, but same result that we're reaching. So thank you for having me today. Very briefly, I'm excited about what you guys are doing in Arizona. It's a pleasure to join you today. So our office is a Center for Faith-Based Neighborhood Partnerships. We reach out to faith-based organizations and community organizations across the nation, and that's ecumenically, because as we know, this is a very special month for diversity, right? And so we want to include everyone. We want everyone to know that we embrace diversity because as your governor mentioned, faith is important, right? I don't have to tell you that faith is things hoped for, evidence not seen, because when people go through life's journey, we know that they need faith, and faith can be a protective factor when dealing with suicide prevention and various things. So we amplify the messages today, and we just look forward to connecting with you in the future to help out. We have our own How to Start a Veteran Ministry, a welcome center at every faith organization, nonprofit as well. And I think I've shared information that will be given to the viewers today as well. But please Google us, Center for Faith-Based at the Department of Veteran Affairs. Connect with us that we may work together so that we can heal this nation. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, hey, I can just pick it up right here, Conrad. That sounds good. It's good to see you again, Conrad. We're literally like a floor apart in DC, but we don't run into each other all the time, so it's good to see you. Hey, so I am very happy to be here with y'all today. Of course, very, very happy and very excited that Arizona has this program going with Be Connected for the veterans. Once upon a time, I served as a task force Corsair chaplain in Afghanistan in 2000 and 2008. And it was a distinct privilege and honor to have a company from the first 285 attack serve right alongside us. And I would again go to war with them any day of the week and twice on Thursday. And of course, I love Arizona. I think it's a wonderful area. We've got family and friends that are back there. Hopefully one day, I think I'm looking forward to going back there and maybe retiring there. But for the time being, of course, I will deal with the loud shrill of the Brudex circadus. But one of the reasons that, and one of the things that we do through the Rural Community Clergy Training Program with VA chaplaincy is we really work to empower, enable, and encourage local community clergy to reach out to ask, hey, who's a veteran in the congregation, and look for ways to serve in the community, because we know that faith leaders, we don't like to say that we get put up on a pedestal, but reality is we do, which also means it's easier for people to see us when they need help, and it's easier for us to reach out a hand to help pull somebody up. So we want to encourage, empower, enable the entire faith community to be able to do that. Director Wright had said earlier that she's one of the things that her office hopes to do is to help connect veterans with benefits that they've earned. My dad was a medic in Vietnam, and when he retired after 26 years, he said, no, the VA is for those people that really need it. And as time has gone on, I'm like, hey, that's you. Hey, that's you. Hey, that's you. But he still is in that generation that seems to think that no, the VA is for that group of people that really need it. Well, reality is a lot of veterans really need it. And so the most that we can do to help our veterans, whether it's at the state level, whether it's at the federal level or in the VA, we want to be able to do. We certainly want you to know that you're not out there alone, that we are there alongside you, and we will do whatever we can to help you. And we want to encourage you that this is not only a necessary fight, but it's a valiant fight. To be able to kind of put on our own uniform to help those who have served and gone into harm's way for us. Thank you all for having me, and I look forward to connecting with you in the future.
I've known Chaplain Melvin for a lot of years. He's really got a tremendous love for his fellow service members, specifically in uniform, because he's in uniform himself. And he once described the coalition as synovial fluid. Which, while technically accurate, is kind of gross. He is here to provide insight on the importance of the faith community to those currently serving in uniform on active duty or in the Guard and Reserve. Chris? Is that a good lead in?
Great lead in. Actually started that with chaplains in the organization, the the military organization, are the synovial fluid in the joints of the organization to keep the thing lubed and working well. So, yeah.
Good.
Trying to remember what the other one was. Not nearly as funny as fun as synovial fluid. Yeah, the importance of faith. I've two titles I've been given the chaplain corps lately, are two functional job descriptions. One is that we're curators of the transcendent for the organization, the military. Something that's thinking about beans, blankets, and bullets. We try and highlight the things that motivate us, keep us doing things appropriately, ethically, morally. And then the other one, besides curators of the transcendent, I would say we are, when I talk to my behavioral health friends, I describe us as chaplains as the gateway drug to behavioral health or mental health. So as we do inner world work with our troops, those are probably two bookends on the stack of stuff that we do. If I can, I'd like to just describe in terms of a journey where I'm at and what I'm working through, and I think it applies to faith and the importance of faith. 2 Veterans Day Sundays ago, before this pandemic kicked off, I spoke at my brother-in-law's church in the Northwest Valley, and many of you are concerned or aware of the concept of moral injury, and there's probably a few different names for it. Spiritual distress or inner distress. But I tried to describe it to this church family, and I just, is everybody here familiar with the phrase, the hand that rules the world, or that rocks the cradle rules the world? Show of digital hands. All right, there's a handful. Yeah, that speaks to the influence of a mom. And so I backed up to describe moral injury, or this inner world tension and struggle, spiritual distress, as imagine if you were to describe to your mother, if you got back from deployment or from the war zone, you were describe to your mom absolutely every excruciating detail of your deployment, all the things that you did that were appropriate, all the things that you did that maybe weren't so appropriate, or maybe all the things that happened to you, maybe all the things that were perpetrated on you, things that you perpetrated on others, things that you didn't do that you were supposed to do. Excruciating detail to your mom. At the end of that long discussion, do you think she'd be proud of you? And I did the pregnant pause there, and you could start to see the light bulbs go off around the congregation. So now you're starting to scratch the surface of what moral injury or inner distress or spiritual distress might look like. And so in this inner world that all of our various faiths speak to or strengthen, this is the place I'd like to attack. So the last thing I'll share is work on prevention. I was in a moral injury Zoom chat during the middle of the pandemic with Dr. Rita Brock. Many of you may be familiar with her work from Bright Seminary. And I asked the question about developing moral immunity, and the initial response, and I get it, was, are you talking about creating sociopaths, something that nothing ever bothers your moral conscience, which is absolutely not what I was going after. But many of us are probably familiar with that book called Chicken Soup for the Soul. And we take chicken soup after we've been sick, we've gotten the flu. I don't know how well chicken soup works on recovering from COVID, but I know it's pretty good for coming out of the flu or coming out of the common cold. And chicken soup for the soul is supposed to be kind of some of those thoughts and ideas that can be a balm or something that's a little bit more healing. What I'd like to encourage us to do, even as a faith community, personally, it's the thing I'm chasing down right now, is what kind of immunity can we build, or I'll call it immune boosters, vitamin C for the soldier soul, or vitamin C for the warrior soul, if you will. And I think the inner world is the place to examine that, look at that. So I don't know where else to turn, but besides the world of faith, whatever anybody's worldview or faith is. So that's all I wanted to share with the group. Thomas, is that you didn't give me a time constraint, which I'm grateful for, but
you did excellent, and that was great there. I've got a couple of notes about some of the things that you talked about. I am glad to hear that you don't want to produce sociopaths. This is good. This is good. But I love the moral immunity, or the, especially with our current conversation about COVID and whatnot, and all of our minds being focused on how much better would life be if we had immunity from COVID and could operate freely as we used to. And I think that's a pretty interesting point for all of us to ponder as we go forward. So, hey, thank you, Chaplain Melvin. Really appreciate your thoughts and reflections, and we'll wrap those up in a bit. So, thank you. All right. Okay. So, Matthew, next slide. So you have heard a lot today of some really good, potential, concepts. I've gotten a bunch of nuggets out of the different things that people have said, Maria and Wanda, and Conrad and Matt and all the other folks that we've heard. So that's one part of what we're doing. Maybe some different perspectives. Really appreciated Roland's prayer today. He's got a breakout coming up. I think it's going to be just absolutely fascinating. But that has all been kind of like, impact type stuff. And what I would like to take our next section towards is, why is your effort, your engagement, your active participation so important? I'm going to be introducing you to 6 people who, through their efforts, can help answer that question. And I'm going to lead us off with my good friend, Mike Wold.
I'm a U.S. Navy veteran. I co-chair the Be Connected Faith Network with Thomas. And I'm also a member of the Francisca Renewal Center Veteran Ministry, a very active ministry. I coordinate veteran healing retreat workshops. Now, about the faith-based network, I think you have a general idea, but the mission that we have is to encourage faith-based communities and organizations throughout Arizona to join together to support service members, veterans, and their families and communities. It's really a key part of the Be Connected program. It's part of the mind, body, and spirit healing aspect. So we connect service members, veterans, and their families to those that need support, particularly from faith communities. We also provide the faith communities and organizations like the ones that you're representing and the members of knowledge, training, resources, and connections. I want to say a little bit about the Francisca Renewal Center, because this is a very active faith community network partner. It's been operating for about 8 years. In addition to providing healing retreats for veterans, we provide information sessions for the public, household goods for veterans coming out of transitional housing, counseling, spiritual direction, other programs to help the vets. I know that I want to let you know I really have a passion for helping faith communities do this. It's based on my own experience. In 2008, I created a veteran support ministry at a large faith community in Minnesota. We engaged our faith community in supporting deployed service members and returning veterans and their families. We were able to adopt 39 deployed service members, including a Lutheran chaplain and also an evangelical chaplain and their families. As more and more were coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan, our focus shifted from overseas support to reintegration assistance. That included employment assistance, help with their spiritual and psychological needs. When I moved to Arizona, I was happy to be able to continue this work as a member of the Francisca Renewal Center. Also, the veterans have, as I talked about, body, mind, and spirit, spiritual as well as psychological and physical needs, so they can be served by the faith communities. The other thing, I've talked to veterans. One of them at our church in Minnesota said, "Hey, I'm joining your faith community. I feel like it's a very supportive home for me and my family." I could provide you with a whole bunch of stories of veterans and their families who have been helped and healed by faith communities, but I want to introduce a video that was done by Graciela Marroquin. Graciela was a 14-year U.S. Navy veteran. She's later an Army National Guard veteran who was called up and served as a combat medic in Iraq. She's going to talk about how her healing took place based on some work or workshops she went to and the support she had from the Francisca Renewal Center Veteran Ministry. So thank you.
I like to equate what I've learned on my healing journey, that my faith is actually my innocence. It was the innocence that was lost while I was serving in the military and while I served in war. I joined the military, and where I started experiencing a lot of the hardships of being a woman in the military, a lot of degradation, discrimination, sexism. It was during that period, though, when I saw a lot of the death and dying, the traumas, but it was more of how do I say, the lack of dignity for human life on all parts of what a human can do to another human. I think that is what injured my soul the most. I didn't know I had wounded soul until I came back. I knew I had something going on that wasn't balanced, and that was post-traumatic stress. I was able to tell my story in a way that I was able to step back. I was able to take a big step back and see the whole piece, not just the parts, but now the whole piece of where I had been, what I had been through, what I overcame. And so bringing that one piece together, the moral injury and the moral conflict that I had experienced really was what completed me, brought me whole. So it was like putting my pieces back together and making me whole. When you shed some light upon a deep wound or something of a trauma, it gets you distance from that. It gives you space. I was a medic, so when you had to do with a wound, you had to go in there and clean it and scrub it. And to do that, you had to go in there into the painful parts, and you're able to let it heal in its natural process. So I kind of think, I believe, telling your story, sharing your stories in a non-judgmental, safe environment with others that have shared lived experiences, I think that helps one another to also help not feel so burdened by the wound as well. It's just a shared common experience of the pain, and it just may look different for each individual, but it's still a shared lived one that I feel that really brings the healing to its beginning or into its process of healing. So I'm just very grateful for that experience. I know not all have that experiences. So just discovering, reclaiming, finding the innocence is what helped me put things into context of the trauma that I incurred during war.
All right. Well, thank you. Sang-hoon, you're up.
Okay. I think everybody hears me, but if there's some technical trouble, just let me know. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Pastor Sang-hoon Yu, and the founder of the Faithful City Church and Ministry. And first of all, thank you for having me here and our collaboration for years. And also salute to you all who sacrificed and poured out all out of passion and energy for our nation. I'm here as a founder of Arizona Trauma-Informed Faith Community. As a trauma survivor, this is my testimony. It's a short, life about 6 years, but it exponentially grew and connecting all the sectors like a faith and veteran society like today, and all the 13 sectors of the society working together. This is very important. It's a movement. I'm not here to think about or helping the survivors with the pills and medications, special services and support. Why? Because the science and faith tradition of mine tells me, again, science and faith tradition of mine tells me the most important thing for the recovery of trauma is not just, again, about the pills or therapy or special sessions. It's all about connectivity and relationship. We heard from the proclamation of the governor about the word belonging. That's the word. So in order to increase our belonging together, we connect everyone and walk together with the churches and other faith organizations and schools and governor's office, youth faith and family, and all other sectors together. Out of this, we provide workshops, presentation training, and doing worship together, and also with the fellowship together, because we're gonna increase belonging, and that's gonna be the healing source, major healing source. As a trauma survivors, by the way, the science always tells us the trauma is we defined as a stress response, which is everywhere. People don't like the word trauma, but you know what? The trauma connects everyone. And I'm gonna introduce the pastor Dave Beach. He is a senior pastor of the Tempe Ascent Church, but also he's East Valley regional director of our movement, Arizona Trauma-Informed Faith Community. And you're gonna hear from him when his church embraced this movement, what happened and what's his testimony. Thank you.
We developed what we would call trauma-informed worship settings, where the worship setting itself was structured in such a way that would create a safe space for people to worship, to reflect, to meditate, to connect with God, but at the same time put themselves in a place for healing of maybe things that they didn't even realize they needed healing from. She would develop anxiety when she was doing the dishes. She was developing anxiety when she was washing her young children in the bathtub. And through the process of exploring what it is to have a trauma-informed perspective and how trauma affects us, she actually discovered that when she was serving an active duty, she was always trying to keep an eye on the door, and she had developed some anxiety with being aware of who was maybe coming through the door. Well, that carried over into her civilian life, and she had realized that she was being triggered every time there was water or noise in the background when her back was to the door. Just the understanding of that alone, then it changed her perspective, and where she thought she was a bad mother and she couldn't bathe her children or do the dishes in the house, all of a sudden she realizes, wow, this is trauma that stems back from my time in active duty. And then she was able to start to implement a little bit of that understanding and be able to create then different ways of doing some of these things that mitigated the triggering and the trauma that was happening. For us as a church, being able to bring awareness to that and help them start to identify, it really then accomplishes our goal of being able to see people, as we would say, based in the New Testament scriptures in Ephesians 4, that they're able then to continue to grow up into Christ.
Oh, that was great. I love seeing the use of a church group that is informed about a way of thinking and utilizing that way of thinking that is in support of our service members, veterans, and their families. Dee, off you go.
Good morning. Thank you, Thomas. My name is Dee Person. I'm a Navy combat veteran who served in the Middle East during Operation Enduring Freedom and Iraqi Freedom. I now have the privilege of working as the Community Engagement Team Lead for Be Connected, which is an initiative of the Arizona Coalition for Military Families. I actually came to this work of supporting the veteran population because of my own struggles reacclimating into the civilian world after completing back-to-back extended deployments in the Middle East. It was a very male-dominated environment. This previous video that you just saw kind of got me teary-eyed because in the late 90s and early 2000s, our military and armed forces wasn't prepared to support women in long-term combat environments. They couldn't fit us in the gear appropriately. Everything was big. Emotionally and mentally, they weren't ready to support us. So I made the hard decision to transition out of active duty. I decided in 2006 that it was time for me to join the reserves and start my family with my husband, who is also a Marine veteran. There was a strong stigma against seeking help when I was getting out. Any service member who went to talk to a therapist or a mental health provider could be deemed unfit for duty. At this time, there was no standard screening process for post-traumatic stress or military sexual trauma. You can imagine, we felt abandoned and alone. But lucky for me, my family knew that something wasn't quite right. My constant short temper, my aggressive behavior, and my extreme defensive posture were all signs that I was wound too strong, too tight, and I really was a walking, talking, ticking time bomb. I was ready to explode. However, my family was able to convince me that there was one place that I had in my life that had been there since I was young that could help me. They encouraged me to see my priest and go to my church. It was there that I was able to direct and get help from faith-based professionals, ministry support groups. And this is where my healing journey began and my faith was renewed. I now have the privilege today to introduce you to a very special man that's making a huge difference in the Phoenix area. His name is Dr. Anthony Newkirk. He's the CEO and founder of the Warriors Code, Inc. He's a Native American and African American Air Force veteran, and he can now reflect on his unique spiritual journey.
I experienced some childhood trauma where I didn't believe in anything. Joining the military was almost like kind of like a death wish, you know. I wasn't considering suicide, but I figured that if I went into a dangerous enough career that, it could be over. I enjoyed my time in the military. I was an ammunition specialist in the Air Force. I got out of the military after a couple DUIs. Got a third DUI, ended up doing 3 years in prison. In prison, you have to kind of roll with your race. And so it almost was like an opportunity for me because I had never really gotten into my tribal side. I've always been around family and things like that, but not really about our way of life. I had the opportunity to participate in Sweat Lodge, learn more about the culture. So it was you don't think of prison as being a teaching environment, but it was for me. It was an awakening. And so that's where I kind of got in touch with my cultural side, learning from elders that were there, people that have lived on the reservation for most of their life. I'm here for a purpose, and that's pretty much my story, my path regarding my faith, my spirituality. Part of my culture, my belief is appreciation. So I'm up early before the sun rises to give thanks to that sun for, letting me rise once again. And so I do that on a daily basis. Every day I greet that sun. And so, and that's part of our teachings from our culture, our hemduk, our way of life. And so it's ingrained in me. Every day I'm appreciating, what's been given to me. This life has been given to me by my ancestors. And so that keeps me going. There's tough days, there's rough days that, sometimes I'm like, okay, let me dissolve this. It's not worth it. But I put on that hat of, ancestors that could have given up but didn't. They've walked that walk. They walked Trail of Tears. They've, fought for civil rights. And so it just getting back to my ancestors and, knowing that they went through those struggles, my little struggles, it's I can handle it. I can handle it.
Whew, okay. Yeah, thank you, Dee, for that heartfelt description and discussion. And Anthony, I love his story because it's from prison to PhD. That's amazing. So, Kathy.
Greetings, everyone. These testimonies have been so moving. I love seeing how our faith community is healing our nations. Greetings to you from me. I'm a new Arizonian, been here about 18 months. I'm a career Air Force veteran, although like Dee, I am not a combat veteran. I am the volunteer leader for Christ Church of Fountain Hills Military Ministry, which we call Vet Connect. The reason my husband and I started this group was because 55% of our Iraq and Afghanistan veterans feel disconnected from mainstream America. And overall, about 40% of our combat warriors, if not other military members, have difficult time regaining purpose and meaning after their military service, and oftentimes feel alienated from their God. My husband, who is a career active Army combat veteran, and I started Vet Connect because we wanted to foster, like Pastor Sangoon said, connectivity, relationships, and friendships, fostering that sense of belonging as a volunteer, not as a counselor or therapist. Early on, I approached our senior pastor after being here for 2 months, and I said, what are we doing to support military-connected families? And he said, not much. We should be doing more. I raised my right hand and I said, I can do that. I want to help. Immediately, there were 2 wonderful people who came alongside me. One is Carolyn Fields, who you're not going to meet today, but she's joining. The other is a very special military spouse, Stephanie Penick. She was experiencing her own struggles. She has been really helpful in leading Vet Connect, has been an instrumental partner in 2 ways. First, she developed relationships with the military spouses who had younger children because she's more their age and she had more to relate to them probably than I did and do. And secondly, she's got like veteran radar out in the community, identifying military connected people who we wanted to bring in to Christ Church of Fountain Hills Vet Connect. It's been my joy and pleasure to get to know Stephanie and her family as people, and we're just great buddies. Ladies and gentlemen, please meet my friend, Stephanie Penick.
My husband's military experience has affected him with leaving the house. He gets sweats and physical pain to his body. And then that affects our family as my kids have an inside dad. I have an inside husband. My husband was in military combat. He was a saw gunner. So the things he saw and the things he heard affected him. And then coming back from war, trying to come back into society, it's heartbreaking to watch them come back and not have the help that they need. And that's where suicide is very high and the divorce rate is high because the spouse here at home does not know how to react to their new husband or their new dad that's coming back. And it's a big process to help them get back into society. They started a group called Vet Connect, and it's to bring military connected people together to help support, to pray together, and just to share your experiences because there's that connection, because they understand what I as a spouse, my husband, our kids are going through. And that has been huge, from letting people in to understand what PTSD is and how it affects him, myself, and my kids. And through God, through his grace, being invited to Vet Connect, I have been able to be open and vulnerable and sharing. And it's just been amazing to have that faith-based community. Through there, I've had connections with friends and earning their trust and just being able to call them and say, hey, my husband's having a bad day. Can you pray for him? Or they'll text me or call me saying the same thing. It just brings so much light and joy to have those people around you. It's just amazing. It's been so, so good.
Well, thank you, Thomas. This is great. Good morning, everyone. I'm Ron Wheat, affiliate staff missionary with Cru Military. It's a division of Cru United States, which is part of Campus Crusade for Christ International. As a soldier, I was trained and pledged to never leave a comrade in the hands of the enemy. And then from my era, 58,000 plus folks got their names on the Vietnam Wall. And then over 350,000 of them committed suicide. And that's something that got my attention when even more so as the current war cranked up and started to meet people like Dee and see their struggles. And during these most current wars, the suicide rates in the active military guard and reserve soared to record levels, historically high levels. And 22 veterans a day were committing suicide, and then and still are. Those dying on this spiritual battlefield at home, it became obvious to me, were 7 times greater than those in the war zone. Lost hope on the spiritual battlefield leads to suicide. I decided not to abandon my comrades here at home and help save their spiritual as well as their physical lives. And as Kathy so well pointed out, all ministry flows out of relationship. Would you please take a look at this short video by my good friend, Jim Conley, whom we've been friends with now for over 9 years, share some of his healing story with you. He and many others like him are why I am so blessed to do what I do.
I was Vietnam, 1968, and unknown to me, I had PTSD. PTSD didn't exist in 68, according to the VA. So I went through a rather turbulent first marriage, spent some time in prison, and when I got out, this is 2003, and I needed something. I went to the VA, got started, they diagnosed me with PTSD in 2004. The VA helped me considerably, but I felt I was missing something. And I met a gentleman who introduced me to Cru. It's a group of men who share certain type of experiences, and some of those are worse than others, but they all come together in a common belief of helping your fellow man and their understanding. One of the problems I've always had, and still do to a certain extent, is people don't understand combat vets. Sometimes in combat you have to make moral decisions as well as physical ones, and sometimes they're troubling. They may not be wrong or anything like that, but it still bothers you to kill somebody. All that can be very emotionally draining. At first, they asked me a question, do you believe in God? And I said, yes, but does God believe in me? And that was what, almost 17 years ago? And through Cru and the faith-based group that I have met, my life isn't, my emotional life has improved, and my life in general, I'm more at peace. I feel more fulfilled, and I've been able to help fellow veterans through the group.
All right. Trying to hold it together here, folks. Gary, let's have you close us out for this part.
Okay. My name is Gary Sanders. I'm the founder and president of Military Missions Network, and I'm really glad to be with you guys today. If you think about it, everyone on this call today, and I don't know, Thomas, what the final number is, but everyone on this call today is here because we share a mutual love and concern for our military and their families. And whatever venue we're working through and in, we share a common calling to support them. And so we have that in common today, regardless of what world we're in, the nonprofit world, the government world, ministry world, or church world. I have a very strong conviction, and have for many years, after pastoring for right at 37 years now in military community churches, that the church is a sleeping giant when it comes to what needs to happen in supporting our military and their families. I believe very strongly in collaboration. In fact, our mission statement, Military Missions Network, is part of our mission statement, has a phrase in there, collaborating for a greater synergy. The church and today we're talking about faith communities. The faith communities, I believe, are the sleeping giant of this movement that needs to happen. I think all of us could agree that we need a greater synergy when it comes to what we're wanting to see happen for support and ministry to our military and their families. We need to see more happen than what can happen through our own organizations or churches or faith communities or nonprofits. And that greater synergy is going to come through collaboration. So Thomas, I'm very excited about what you guys are doing with the coalition in Arizona, and particularly the launch of the Be Connected Faith Network. I think can have a tremendous impact in terms of bringing together various parties that may not work together, and that may not be because of competition or turfism or whatever. It may just be because we don't know each other and we're all busy in our own venues. But I'm praying that the Be Connected Network is going to be used in a powerful way to facilitate this needed collaboration with the outcome of having a greater synergy. Faith communities bring something very unique to the table of this cause. And they do that not necessarily by having a focused ministry to the military or support group or whatever. They do it by virtue of the nature of who they are. Faith communities, for example, bring community to military veterans and their families, a sense of family and a sense of belonging. Faith communities are literally an army of volunteers. I think it was Chaplain Melvin that mentioned earlier in his remarks that there's no substitute for the faith communities. If you think about it, there's no other army of volunteers that exist out there that is needed for the greater support and the greater synergy in terms of ministry and support of our military. So I'm very excited about this movement, and I'm praying for it, Thomas, that it will be beyond anything any of us could imagine or think in the days ahead. I have a passion for ministering to young adults. In addition to my role with the Military Missions Network, I also serve as the military pastor of First Baptist Church of Norfolk, Virginia, and have been in that position for right at 16 years now. we have a large young adult community at First Baptist Norfolk. And because of being Norfolk, Virginia, and Hampton Roads, Virginia, we have a lot of military. More than 1/2 of our military are between the ages of 17 and 25 years of age. I've been traveling now for about 16, 17 years, visiting military communities, seeing what's happening in those communities in terms of military ministry, particularly with the evangelical church. And what I've found is that very few churches have any kind of organized effort of ministry to our military or through our military members, through the people that attend their particular congregations. I think that this is a huge need to minister to this population, especially since it is the predominant portion of our United States military. Suicide. I personally have known several young adults that have taken their lives here in this community. And some of those young adults have taken their lives because they did not have support. They did not have community. They did not have a sense of belonging in a family. I love what Chaplain Melvin said a few moments ago about that the faith community are like, I believe he said, immunity boosters, and we are the vitamin C for the soul. Faith communities are absolutely necessary and essential to this movement. And so today I want to introduce you to a young man who is a millennial. He's a young millennial. He is in the Navy. He is a leader in our First Baptist Church Norfolk Young Adult Ministry. And he is the face, and his heart communicates very well why the faith community needs to be involved in support and ministry to our military. So meet my friend, Matt DeVilliers.
My faith came before the military, and through the military, it's gotten exponentially bigger. So the military brought things like stability financially, sense of purpose and that stuff. But as far as personally, on my off time, it was hard to relate with people outside of work. You realize that you don't necessarily have a physical family where you're at. Yes, workers, yes, friends, but you don't have people who will help you through the hard times as much as celebrating the good times. This faith community has brought literally nothing but joy in my life where I didn't have it before. I needed a support system outside of work. I needed something else added to my life. That one thing that I needed was friends that really cared the best for me, that was going to lead me to the right place. So I needed somebody who was going to lead me as a young man into becoming an actual man. So that means good habits, bad habits, someone to talk to, someone to lean on, someone to go through life and show you things you don't know, because you don't know it all. Things like changing your oil, things like breakups with a girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever the case is. You need people through hard times as well as times of just regular everyday life. Faith community has brought a sense of purpose and direction to not only just think about yourself, but to think about other people. And it has not only helped guide me in the right path, but it's also just given me a hug when I needed it most. Not everyone gets that comforting hug whenever they need it, or they're going through a tough time, crying, upset. And so it's really just kind of wrapped its arms around me and embraced me in a way that I could just feel loved for once and not have to worry about the fact that my mom or my dad's not currently here. I have family, a spiritual family, community here to do that, and to do that well. And then I'm able to do the same from what I've learned to other people as well. So if you're looking to start a military veteran program, faith community, the answer is yes. You don't need to wait any longer. Let this be an opportunity to reach out to them because they need it, but also because you need it too. You have the conviction, you have the drive, do it.
I'll just tell you that all of those folks that did those videos that you just saw, we have a bunch more from really good people that had just amazing stories. And I want to tell you that just appreciate each and every one of the individuals for putting their life basically out in front of all of us, so that each of us can understand a little bit more about the absolute necessity of us coming together as a network to be able to share more information. The other important thing that I want to make sure that for those of you who aren't familiar with, Mike Wold and Sang Hoon and Ron Wheat and Gary Sanders, they each have organizations that are a part of this collective effort that we're trying to do. And so be connected to an amazing through Ron Wheat's affiliation with Crew Ministries. And I'll be walking through Starbucks, and I'll just see a couple of veterans sitting there working through it right in the middle of everything. You see the thing quite frequently, and it's had just some remarkable impact on folks. I'll say the same thing about Healing of Memories and the work that the Franciscan Renewal Center is doing. Remarkable stuff over there. We had a conversation with them years and years ago, over 10 years ago now, about them wanting to really expand into the world and be supportive of service members, veterans, and their families. And it was neat to see everything that has flourished in that center by good people like Linda McLeish, who you're going to be hearing from in just a little bit, Dean Pedrati, Charlie Brown, who's the CEO of the CASA now. Just some really remarkable things. Gary Sanders, when he speaks, listen, because he's got a national effort of network of churches that he's consistently communicating with, and just has a plethora of resources. We're going to help to deliver those to, make sure that you've got availability and access to all of those things. So I'm definitely encouraged by what we've heard. I'll just mention Sang Hoon again. The Arizona Trauma Informed Faith Communities is a great network to belong to, because you heard it, and it changes things from, hey, what is wrong with that person, to, hey, what happened in that individual's life that is getting them to behave or act or emote that way, and then more importantly, what can we do about it? So I'll just say, you just heard from some really amazing people, and I'm encouraged by everything that we've been talking about. I said that I would be kind of taking some notes. I like to do this when we've got panels or we've got a lot of information coming at us, to kind of shrink it down. I know each of you probably has things that kind of stood out for you. One of the things that was being discussed in the chat box is a clarification. Michael Crandall, thank you for always reminding us about the importance of military dependent children, adult military dependent children. Sometimes when there are struggles from a veteran, those things expand across families. And so, that's an important thing. Our mindset is just, it's everyone in the orbit of a service member, veteran, or family member that needs support, assistance, encouragement, any of those types of things, or that we can utilize their strengths to be able to across all different types. Doesn't even have to be relations, because there's always good folks in individuals' lives. The second thing, we had really great remarks from Maria and Wanda and Conrad. He mentioned kind of heal the nation. Wanda talked about reaching veterans who are unreached by the wealth of support that is there. I think that's a critically important point. Maria, I loved her point about faith communities being such a strong ally in support of being able to convey information about COVID, to be a social network, to guard against our loneliness. I thought those were some beautiful points. Matt, he said, you know, we're not alone. The full support of the VA is with us in these types of efforts. They've got their things that they're doing, but they're supporting things like faith-based communities and clergy training and all those kind of good things in really important ways. And I think that's a great thing. You know, we've all talked about kind of the moral immunity. We've hit on that a couple of different times. Chaplain Melvin brought into the conversation. Gary, I think, kind of mentioned kind of the moral injury immunity booster, and maybe that's at least part of what this is. Maybe it's not moral immunity, but I think that's what faith communities can do. I love, you know, listening to Roland. You know, here he was in a tough situation when he was in prison, and you know, here he was getting connected to his faith community in a really unique environment, which we know is tough in a lot of ways and doesn't always inspire and encourage. And he found that, which is really neat. And I think that was you know, a moral injury immunity booster, at least for him, or at least that's my take on it. And you know, I'll just say Dee. You know, Dee Person, when she introduced her video and wonderful video from Andrew. You know, I've known Dee now for, I think, a little right around a year. When she first interviewed with us last year during the height of COVID, and I had no idea that was part of her story. And my goodness, you know, I didn't have just one, but two undry eyes. So I appreciate her for that. And I know we've all got these stories, right? That's the beauty of connecting as human beings. So thank you everyone for listening and paying attention to these. I hope they had the type of impact. I want you to understand that we want to expand out that impact. Next year, we should have, you know, hundreds of potential videos that we can constantly put out and inspire and encourage others to, you know, seek healing and health